Kind request to Thiru Padma Bhushan Dr. T. Ramasamy and Shri Dr. Tamarapu Sridhar to be on the stage for the commemorative lecture. I kindly request Dr. T. Ramasamy to chair this session and felicitate the speaker.
Gathering, it is me rather than him. And Tom Sridhar and I known for many years. I was 2 years senior to him, but I must admit to you that I never ragged him. And he has made a name not just for himself, he has made not just for AC Tech, he has made a name for this country in Australia, and a very distinguished academics in this world. And I like to just simply say he is also a fellow of Indian National Science Academy, which is an honor by itself. And he has brought tremendous recognition to the value of AC Tech. And we thought on the 80th year of this college institution, the younger students who are studying now must listen to him, the journey. So my request to people sitting in the last row, which the minister has been asking, please why don't you move into the front? Why don't you move to the front? Because the seats are empty and come to the front. And this particular commemorative talk itself is for the people who are studying in AC Tech now. So I will not stand between you and him and request him to give the commemorative lecture in celebration of a journey that he has traveled, starting from AC Tech in his younger days. We spent, 5 years in AC Tech, but I think 30 plus years it went out, right? He's going to listen to you. Please listen to him. And my request to him is to excite and inspire people. And the minister rightly addressed people on this row to look at him. And my request to Dr. Tom Sridhar is to really inspire the younger people studying in AC Tech and the Anna University in general. Thank you.
And I remember meeting you in your office at DST many years back when I was leading Monash's India strategy, and I needed to get a research academy set up in Bombay. As usual, these things, especially because in those days nobody else had attempted it, it got into some trouble. And bureaucratic troubles in India are particularly a class of difficult problems for someone who ran away from this country at an early age and coming back again without any experience of working here. So I ran into Ramaswamy and he sorted it all out, and that included making sure that the government of India funding for that. I made sure the government of Australia's funding for that was there. And I don't know whether you know, Ramaswamy, today that institute has graduated 250 PhDs, and all of them are working in and around here, many of them in industrial settings. So that's been a very useful meeting, and I thank you for your support when we went there. Now, I have a particular problem here. And the problem is that what I wanted to say, I wasn't sure, because I've never attended one of this, and I wasn't sure what the audience expected me to say. And I thought that one of the best things we could do was to honor the college, but more importantly, the founder, because when I was studying in AC College, I had really no idea what this Alagappa Chettiar was. I know AC stood for Alagappa Chettiar, because that's a normal quiz question, but I didn't know who he was. And in those pre-internet days, there wasn't any information easily available. And in fact, even today, our college website doesn't contain enough information, and I think that's something we should fix, because this guy, there is a book that is freely available outside, written by Muttaya and Vairavan, Alagappa Chettiar's grandson, that gives all the details of Chettiar's life. And this guy went to England, afflicted with a very serious disease which curtailed his life, lived only about 48 years, and had a knack for making money, an incredible knack for making money, whether it was in banking, insurance, import of chemicals, which is where I think the idea of chemical engineering might have come, because he had a relationship with Hext Pharmaceuticals and was their supplier for India. And he was also in the textile business, so that again tells you why he was interested in something in textile industry. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. The problem I have is that the minister spoke eloquently about Alagappa Chettiar, and the first part of my lecture might have some duplication of that. I'll try and cut through that and go to the second part of my lecture. So that's a man, 48 years, at that time, pre-independence India, he could say those words, and he had to be a dreamer. If you look at the number of educational institutions that he funded and developed, he had to be a major dreamer. At that time, this is just post-Second World War. But by 1933, he actually had a pilot's license and for some time owned an aircraft company too. 1933, that's just 25 years after the Wright brothers. And this guy in London went and got a pilot's license, and when he came back here, he actually had an aircraft company that he bought over and later was nationalized by the government when Air India was created. So he was an incredible man. The more I read about him, the more I'm amazed that this guy existed. A stockbroker, he could import yarns just because he thought there was going to be a shortfall and make crores of money in one deal, that he had that ability. But a bigger ability was the generosity of his heart, that he could just give away. And I'm told that towards the end, he gave everything away. And in 48 years, he created something that I know no other Indian or South Indian industrialist has done. He was friends with all the people, but his particular friendship was with this man, that is Dr. Sir A.L. Lakshman Swami Madlaya, who was then the Vice Chancellor of Madras University when I studied here. Now, he was also a friend of Alagappa Chettiar, and this was 20 years before I came to AC College. Now, that friendship between Lakshmana Swami Madlaya trying to set up a Department of Technology for Madras University, and Vairavan, who just from the audience immediately announced some 5 to 10 lakhs of rupees in those days for setting up the AC College. It also tells us that at that time, Lakshmana Swami Madlaya established AC College, not like this college, which has an amazing history, which is a College of Engineering, as an independent affiliated college. AC College was set up as a Department of Technology of the University of Madras. So right from the beginning, it had a charter to be a university department, which means it had to give higher degrees, it had to offer doctorates, and it had to allow students for research. That was a particular distinction between the affiliated colleges and AC College of Technology. And that was due to Lakshmana Swami Madlaya. And that's what happened because we had the departments of chemistry, departments of physics with G.N. Ramachandran and others. We had a lot of stalwarts, pure scientists, mingling within the portals of AC College. And in some way, that set the culture for our college that I hope continues till this day. So that was the relationship between these two people. Now, the short history of chemical engineering, if you look at 1966 when I started, there was AC College of Technology. IIT Madras had just produced about half a dozen graduates till then, so it was just starting going. Coimbatore Institute of Technology also was starting at that time, and the regional college, Trichy, was just commencing. So AC College was a big boy for chemical engineering. Nothing else was close to it. It had all the best alumni, and it had Dr. G.S. Ladda lording over that campus, and he knew everyone. Now, if you look back 20 years earlier, in 1944, we had even more limited opportunities for studying chemical engineering. The oldest college, of course, was Jadavpur University, and at that time called Bengal National College, and that was about 1920s. The discipline of chemical engineering only starts around 1915, post-war. That is a formal discipline to look at chemical processes itself. In MIT and others was 1915. Jadavpur had a course in chemical engineering, and that just tells us how enlightened the intelligentsia in Bengal in those days were, because you had a lot of people, the chemical industry was situated in Bengal, and they started this. Of course, the other old institute is Lakshmi Narayana Institute of Technology in Nagpur, that was started a couple of decades earlier. And in fact, Dr. G.S. Ladda, who was our director at that time, was an alumnus of LIT. So LIT produced alumnus that he became a director for us. And of course, the University Department of Chemical Technology that's still going strong. So that is where I found myself. And a word about the curriculum we had. The curriculum in AC College at that time was, I must say, pretty dated for that time. There were problems in the curriculum, which either points to the difficulty of changing curriculum in this place, but we had professors like Madhavan Nair, Chandrasekhar, and Jagannath Swami, including Dr. Ladda. But they tried to make up for this deficiency in the syllabus by giving us additional classes. So Jagannath Swami, recognizing that we weren't taught reaction engineering, used to give lectures on reaction engineering. Okay, one of the problems was that he told us that this was not examinable, and I think half the class, including myself, stopped attending those lectures. So that was unfortunate because I went on to have a I went on to do research in chemical reaction engineering. I think Balasubramaniam here would laugh at that because I hadn't attended that in AC College, but I had to do a hell of a lot of self-study. And if I had the sense to attend some of Jagannath Swami's lectures when he was giving it for free, I could have saved myself months and months in later. So yeah, we had that problem. But today when I looked at it, the curriculum of AC College, it is certainly modernized to a great extent. And I had to get Sukumar to send me the current curriculum that they were doing in a 4-year course. That seems to be a much more modern curriculum for us. Let me move on to some of my own research areas so that I don't just bore you with this. And one of the things that I have been interested in is to look at material properties. Now, one of the things about materials, and you'd see this even as a child, they would go and try and push this glass tumbler on a table, and when it falls down, it crashes, and they figure out that this is a brittle solid. So you have to deform material in order to find out about them. And I spent about 10, 15 years of my life doing that. And obviously, the field starts, as many fields do, with with this cantankerous chap in Cambridge called Isaac Newton. And he defined the viscosity for a fluid as what happens when you put a liquid between two plates and try move one of them at a certain velocity, as I've tried to show in that picture there. And then the force that is required to move this plate at a certain velocity allows you to define the viscosity. On the other hand, for solids, what we would do is we would do a tensile test. And we'd just hang a weight, and every time there was an incremental increase in the length, you could use that to define the modulus of elasticity, E there. So you had the viscosity for liquids and the elasticity as done by Robert Hooke. There is no picture of Robert Hooke available in the world, I'm told, simply because Newton burned every picture available at the Royal Institute. So he was quite a character there. Now, that was taught to us when by Dr. Kasturi, and we used to learn bending moments with that famous equation, M over I equals F over Y equals E over R. And a lot of my friends would make up mnemonics to try and remember that equation, because if you know that equation, you could solve most of the problem. Our problem was to remember that equation. And if you want to know what that mnemonic is, you should ask one of the AC College guys who studied at that time. So I went on to study polymers, because when polymers are dissolved in liquids, then their viscosity changes, and it changes with strain rate. So these are a class of fluids that are called non-Newtonian. And the interesting thing about this is that the way the large-scale structure of the polymer is constructed, whether it is a linear polymer or a branch polymer, has a major effect on the properties of that polymer. And that means that when you process this, either in the melt state or in the liquid state, you have to be aware of some of these limitations. In general, a polymer would be like a piece of spaghetti, and when you actually do some work on it, you allow that molecule to expand. And that's how we think about it. We think about it as a set of steps representing the polymer. And if you say what kind of step it is, these are all Brownian steps. They are random steps. So as you take the random step, you would get the size of the polymer that will go as the square root of the number of monomers in it. And if you do work on it, you would obviously stretch it out as a linear chain, which the size would be proportional to the number of monomers. So if you take the ratio of this, you could see that there is an entropy in this that gives a spring. So these actually act like springs in a liquid. So one of the things that we wanted to do was, you have the solids being tested by Hooke's law and the liquid being tested by Newton's law. Can we take liquids and do a test that Hooke's does, that is a tensile test for liquids? And this is a device can you play that? We've been having some network problems here. Doesn't matter, not important. Okay, let me move on. There it is. So this was what we did. We did exactly the same thing, but with a liquid. And that's the device we constructed for this. It's called a filament stretching device. And you will notice that that's a solution, but see how it actually extends, just like a fiber spinning a web that you see, very uniform threads. But the beautiful thing about this is we could actually control the way we moved these plates so that the rate at which the diameter shrinks. We could also measure the forces, and these are forces which would be 0.5 gram to 1/4 gram. So they are pretty small forces, and we would control the movement so that we can actually measure the elasticity of these liquids, if you like. How do I move on from this? Right. Now, that was the situation in 1989 in the measurement where different instruments gave you almost 10 orders of difference for a single test fluid. And on the right, you will see what actually happens in this instrument from 3 different labs at Monash, MIT, and Toronto. And we got concordant results almost for the first time. So, as I said, the large-scale shape of these polymers is what determines the property. And you can do that either by temperature, you can do that by charged ions, acids, alkalis, and in each of those cases, the polymer expands. And as it expands, you can tap into different kinds of properties for these. Here's all these different kinds of materials you can see. We call them soft material, or we call them complex materials, and they're all materials that would not follow the Newton's law of viscosity. And each of them, you would need to know their particular properties. I won't go through every one of them, but it is obvious what kind of materials we are looking at, whether it is blood here, some of the gels we use, ketchup, some things with air in it, 3-phase maybe, slimy toothpaste, clay that you can make into pots, etc. All these now is a new branch that people are very interested in. They're called soft solids. And the reason they're interested in is a lot of the biological material within our body also behaves like soft solids. And therefore, knowing ways of looking at their property and understanding them is equally important. Final point I wanted to say, and I touched it on earlier about our forays into India, I really would try to recommend that AC College tries to look at research collaboration, international research collaboration, so that the students get a much better, much different, not necessarily better, but much different and diverse research experience, and that will only come, and I think the minister said this earlier, there's a lot of good stuff happening here, but they are very cleverly hidden. Even by someone like me who knows how to use the web, I found it very difficult to get information from AC College. So I'd actually seriously beseech you that you shouldn't be hiding your achievements, and that our web should really reflect it, because any outside university that wants to have a relationship with Anna University or AC College is going to use the web to do the first desk audit of that. And we shouldn't fail in that to give them enough information. The other thing is, what worries me is, and come back to the initial stage, we have 2 stalwarts. In fact, C.N. Annadure was elected chief minister when we were in college, and this whole thing is named after him. And then we have Alagappa Chettiar. So I'm hoping that in all this fantastic guy who started Alagappa Chettiar College of Technology is not forgotten. Our problem of these dual loyalties of putting all these things, College of Engineering wasn't named after someone. We were. And it was due to the munificence of one person that we started. In all this, we have to somehow try and make sure that Alagappa Chettiar's memory is not fading. And maybe for that, we need to bring back Lakshmana Swami Mudaliar as the Vice Chancellor to help us figure this out. I wish the college all the best in the next 80 years, and I wish the students lots of fun. We had lots of fun when we were studying here, and good luck to the college. And thank you very much for this honor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable insights with us. I request Ramaswamy, sir, to felicitate Tam Sridhar, sir, with a shawl. Kind request to Thiru Dr. Sukumar Devota, Professor of Eminence, Anna University, and Research Director, ACTRF, and former Director, CSIR, Neeri Nagpur, and all the DA awardees and Ms. Vidya Shankar to be on the stage. I kindly request Thiru Dr. Sukumar Devota to chair the session.